Welcome to the Lipoedema podcast, hosted by Shell and Tiana. Our aim is to make noise around lipedema and educate as many people as we can about this disease.
Our guest list contains professionals who work in the field and women who live with lipedema. Thank you for joining us.
Charlotte Phelps is 28 years old, living with early stage 3 lipedema, types 3 and 5. Diagnosed with stage 3 in 2021, her whole world was turned upside down. She finally got the answer she had been searching for over all these years. It wasn't her fault. Growing up in a small country town, being a bigger girl with red hair and freckles, she stuck out like a sore thumb. Charlotte always knew that she was different. Determined to make a change, Charlotte tried everything imaginable to be thin and fit in with society. Moving to Brisbane in 2015, she went through a mindset journey to really accept who she was, realizing she was always the one behind the camera, taking photos and cherished memories of everyone else, but there was never any of her because she was simply ashamed of the way she looked. Charlotte created a fitness account in 2019 to step out of her comfort zone and share her journey. That's where everything took off. Charlotte was finally the representation that she didn't have growing up, and that was only the beginning of where she is today.
Welcome back to the Lipoedema podcast. We are your host, Shell.
And Tiana, and today we are joined by healthy Charlotte. Welcome, Charlotte.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
All right, Charlotte, we are going to kick straight off with how did you come to learn about lipedema and when was that?
Good question. So I think a lot of people around my sort of generation, being mid-20s, well, I'm creeping into the late 20s now, actually. 28. So I've been on Instagram, I've been on social media for a few years, and like Brittany, I actually found out through Riley Hemson as well. So for me, I always loved her. I don't want to make it a big thing about her because she's amazing, and Brittany just pretty much covered everything. But yeah, I followed her for ages because for me, I had such a similar body type to her, and she had such great fashion sense, and that's why I followed her. And I mean, she's a hoot as well. Like, she puts amazing things out there. And when she started talking about it, I went, oh my goodness, like my legs look exactly like that. I have the exact same body type as her. And from there, I sort of started, researching a bit more about it. I spoke to my friends, I spoke to my family, and everyone's like, are you talking about lymphedema? Like, are you sure you're not making a word up here? So yeah, from there, I dived into her YouTubes. I then dived into a couple of other influencers that were talking about it. And yeah, going into maybe I should just get a diagnosis, and for someone to pretty much turn around and just say, nah, you're just overweight. Like, that's what it is, So I did a bit of research. I bypassed my GP completely and just went straight down to, I found the Facebook page, so the Lipedema Facebook page, and I went through everyone's comments of like how they were getting diagnosed. And I'm like, okay, so for me, living in Brisbane, I need to find someone that's local, and I can't sit behind a screen and go, here's my body. What do you think? I needed someone in person to like actually look at me. So I booked through a surgeon based in the Gold Coast and Brisbane at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to go into this and go, okay, he's going to tell me that I'm just overweight. That's it. And from literally 30 seconds of me being in there, he was like, yep, you've got it. You've got it. Here's your answer. And for me, that was sort of like the opening of a whole new world. So this was in, I think, 2021. Oh God, COVID is like throwing me all over. Maybe 2020. I don't even know when COVID happened, to be honest. It's just before COVID happened. So yeah, that's how I kind of went down the route of finding out and actually getting those answers that, my whole life I've been looking for. So yeah.
And isn't that crazy? Like, and Tiana said it, Brittany said it, a couple of other guests have said it, that until the doctor says, yes, you do, that voice in the back of your head is always like, nah, it's our fault. Maybe, one too many chocolate bars. Maybe I didn't work out hard enough. Maybe it's just like we are still preconditioned to think that it's our fault. And that just sucks. And I think even Tiana, she was like, okay, so was it lipedema fat that you took from me? Like, or was it just fat? And
Yeah.
it's crazy that we still feel that way.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like, for me growing up, like everyone around me was active, everyone around me was healthy. That's the way we were brought up. Like I was brought up on a farm. We weren't allowed to eat anything processed. Like, mum used to sneak Maccas on the way home and be like, don't tell dad. But like generally speaking, we were growing up really, really healthy. So for people to just turn around and be like, oh, you must be eating like when we go to bed, or you must be sneaking extra treats, or are you actually working out that hard? It was, it was ingrained in me by other people as well. And it was like constantly people questioning me. And I'm like, oh, and it got to that like imposter syndrome where I'm like, maybe I'm actually not working that hard, or maybe I'm actually eating really poor nutrient foods, like, so it was that answer that I was like, oh my goodness, like finally it's not me, it really isn't me. So yeah, scary times though, very scary.
Oh, absolutely. Like it's opening up this whole new world. Like you said, you went straight into this world. So you mentioned that when you were younger, like you were bigger, even though, you ate well, you exercised, you were active, you were still bigger than others. So had you started looking for answers? Like, was there pain? Was there anything else going on for you that made you look for answers before seeing Riley?
Yeah, well, so for me, it was funny because when the doctor started like diagnosing me and he was explaining the symptoms, that's where it clicked to me that the feelings that I'd had my whole life, I was like, oh, this isn't normal. So like I had restless legs and I had really, really, really painful legs, like pretty much my whole, I don't know, high school sort of age, and like bruising really easily. My sister used to make a joke about it all the time, saying that I used to bruise like a peach. She thought it was the funniest thing. But yeah, all those symptoms that I was having through high school, I didn't realize everyone else wasn't having. Like I just sort of saw it as the normal. So, for me, like I went through I had a bit of a traumatic sort of high school period, but, a lot of girls my age at the same time, like, we went through the eating disorders, and I was at one point eating, 800 calories a day. I wasn't eating for days on end. And then that would turn into me, not eating for 3 days, and then being excited because I decided to break the fast with a salada with a bit of butter on it. And I thought it was the best thing in the world. So yeah, from that stage, I'm like, okay, I'm physically starving myself. I'm exercising tremendously. Like, I was in touch football for a little bit, not very good at it, not very coordinated. I did swimming, I did tennis, I played a bit of netball. So like for all of these factors coming in together and then not being able to lose weight, I'm like, something's wrong. Like something is definitely wrong, but I can't quite figure out what it was. And like my mum was amazing. Like she used to encourage me all the time, like, oh, let's do this and I'll take you shopping, or, and God bless her, like she had no idea what it was. And to this day, like she believes that she's got it. She just doesn't want to get a diagnosis. So it's one of those things growing up where like I always knew it was something was there. But what can you do? Like if you don't have the education behind it, you don't even know that this disease exists. What more can you do? It's frustrating.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you are so young and finding this out, with the average age being 48, you're 20 years ahead of the curve. Like, and that is brilliant. Like that's our purpose for being here, is for more people to hear about this and younger women being able to, do the conservative management and not progress from stage one. That is my dream. That is the, yeah.
Yeah. Having the education behind it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Would it change so many women's lives?
Oh, absolutely. And getting into schools, like school age children, like how hard is high school anyway? Imagine if you knew that, oh, hang on a minute. This is there is something going on here. It's not just me.
Yeah, 100%. Considering that, like, but I don't even know if the numbers have changed. I know it was 1 in 11. I don't know if it's actually gone down to 1 in 10 or 1 in 9 now. But considering the amount of women that are living with it and young girls that are living with it, like we need this. Like we need, people to speak up about it, and we need the education, and we need the resources from doctors to be able to push forward and be like, here, like it is not your fault. It is okay. We are a community. We are one. Like we are together. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are doing a lot of things in the space of, social media and, breaking those beauty standards and the what is the ideal body. So I think along with that, plus the education on lipedema and how to care for our bodies, like, yeah, these amazing things happening.
Oh yeah. And how the power of social media has just picked it up, and social media moves so quickly. So now it's amazing going on my feed and just seeing so many women talking about it. It makes me feel so proud. Like, it's not something that I would wish upon anyone, but it's so powerful in the movement of like women coming together and actually speaking up. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, they don't have to hide anymore. And that's what we've had another guest come on and say that, you don't know much about lipedema because women are hiding it. They're hiding their legs, they're hiding their arms. So you wouldn't even see, but now we're owning it, and we're like, yeah, look at this. Like, and I think that is a powerful message as well, like getting to that stage in our own personal growth to go, yeah, this is me, this is what I've got, and this is what I have to do to care for myself. So yeah, I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. So you were saying that you were diagnosed by a surgeon. So have you had surgeries?
Yeah, so I've had one surgery. I decided to go with my arms first. I found, for me personally, it's one of those things where you can hide your legs a lot easier than you can hide your upper body. And when I sort of look back on, how I grew up, I was always covering my arms. And, even though I do have like so much pain in my legs, I'm like, arms have got to go. Like my arms have to be first. So when pretty much as soon as I got diagnosed, so I got diagnosed, I want to say end of April, May 2021. From there, I was, okay, how do I get the money? How do I have a surgery? Like, I want to be able to reflect how hard I work. Like I want the body that I should be entitled to. So from there, I kind of did a bit of research. I talked to my mom, and like I grew up, like, I want to say I grew up in a very like privileged house. Like we never went without, but I don't have a lot of money behind me. So it was in the case of like, okay, I need to save. And I was really fortunate enough. Where I live is a very amazing local community, and my hairdressers actually started a fundraiser for me. So they ended up raising nearly half the funds for my first surgery. So big shout out to Bohemia Hair Lounge, the women there, but especially Terry and Jamie. Without them, I wouldn't have been able to have my first surgery. So it was a very scary time because I obviously didn't know what to expect. But yeah, I don't regret having my arms done first. I would do it all again. Like it has literally changed my life. And I think because I've got for me, I've got quite a large chest as well. I had quite large arms, and then I've got my legs. I'm like, I just need to be a bit more proportioned. So yeah, it was very, very scary. And like the surgery itself was, I don't even want to think about it. It was an awful experience, but I'm so grateful to, be able to have had that surgery, because there's a lot of women that won't ever be able to afford that without the funding. And, it's something that as soon as I had the surgery, I knew before the surgery, I was going to speak about it. I was going to speak about it throughout the surgery. And that's where my social media came into it. And that's where, I started my social media account for fitness and, watch me on my weight loss journey that I've been trying to do since I was 15. Let's try it on social media. So I sort of, turned that one around to be like, you know what, I'm going to actually talk about this because no one talks about it. So I jumped on, had like a few little stories here and there. And that's where I sort of gained that interest of people going, oh my goodness, like, what is this? And tell me more. So I actually documented the whole process, which is still up on my Instagram. But from there, that's how everything sort of took off. And yeah, just wild times, wild times. But yeah, definitely would do it over and over again with the surgeries.
That's so good to hear, because it's such a huge decision to, as soon as you find out you have something, and I'm sort of the same. I'm like, oh, I have this. I want it sorted now. Like yesterday, let's
Yeah.
do this. It takes a lot of courage to actually get that done. And the fact that you also had the resources to do that, that's fantastic. And you have a community behind you. How amazing. You pipped me at the post with your talking about your social media page, Healthy Charlotte. You have
Yeah.
quite a following on that page, and you mentioned that that was, follow me on my fitness journey, and then it turned to lipedema awareness, and you also share a lot of your modeling on there. And I'm really keen to know from you how you got into modeling and how you find the industry living in a body that's mostly underrepresented in, mass media. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, okay. So so for me, when I grew up, I was never in a photo. I hid from a photo. Any opportunity, I would be behind the camera taking every shot I could just to be able to avoid that. So when I got diagnosed, that's when it quickly hit me. I've been hiding like my whole life, looking back at images. Where am I? Like, do I exist? Like, there's hardly anything to show of me. And when I got the diagnosis of lipedema, oh, it's not my fault. Oh, my body actually doesn't represent who I am. Why am I hiding this? Like, if I'm going to get on social media and talk about this, I can't then hide my body. I can't, hide what I have. This is not my fault. So from there, it kind of went, oh, maybe I need to start taking more photos and just, document things. And because I can look back at it and be like, the younger version of me would be so proud of where I am today. Like, so proud. So from there was a random shoot that was happening it was actually lipedema. And it was just a call out, like anyone in Queensland that would like to, jump on. It's a free event. You'll get the images. And I was like, this is where I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. I'm just going to put my hand up and I'm just going to do it. Who cares? Like, who cares? It's only me that's going to worry about these images. No one else knows who I am. So I put my hand up, went down to the shoot. It was an amazing day. And I got the images back. And it was the first time where I looked at a photo of me and I didn't hate myself. I didn't look at the image and go, ugh. I actually went, oh, wow, like I did that. I really did that. So from there, that's where it sort of sparked like, I can be behind a camera and I can feel confident and, I can love myself. There's always going to be days where you wake up and you don't feel 100%. There's always going to be days where you're like, oh, the dress isn't fitting properly, or, oh, I don't like the way my face is looking today. I feel swollen. I feel just not right in my body. And that's where I was like, I think I'm going to give this a crack. And I was fortunate enough, I got a job within the fitness industry. And that's where I became this advocate of like, my body is so misrepresented. I need to get it out there. And whether it be me or whether it be someone else, it needs to be out there, because at the end of the day, this needs to be normalized. People often look at images, and it's still going on to this day, where a person will judge your health based on an image, and it blows up. And there's so much negativity around it that we really need to break that stigma that, hey, this person that you're seeing to you might not have the ideal body. This person to you might look unhealthy, but do you actually know what's going on behind the scenes? Do you know how hard they're working every day? Do you know how hard they are just working on themselves to wake up every morning and feel good about themselves? So when I went into this job that I had, I was on the forefront. I was like, we need to do this. We need to do it for not only women, but for men as well. We need to get us out there, because this is what's going to make people feel good about themselves and people to accept themselves. So after a lot of pushing and pushing and pushing, they were like, hey, do you want to be in a photo shoot? And I was like, oh my goodness. I nearly had a heart attack, but I was like, you know what? No, this is exactly what I'm going to do. So yeah, I was fortunate enough to be able to go on to the shoot for the day, and I got put on the social media, I got put on the campaigns, and at that point, all these comments were coming in, and they were really, they were just so wholesome, and like we were getting messages from people, like Instagram messages, Facebook messages, saying like, I'm so grateful to be able to see a body that looks like mine. And then, you know, it turned negative quite quickly, because this platform has a whole range of people that are on there. And it turned quite nasty, to the point where I was getting death threats. I was getting all these awful messages about how unhealthy I am. I need to go to the gym. I need to do this. I need to do that. Then they would find my Instagram page and they're like, you're making lipedema up. You're just lazy. Like, all of this stuff was happening. And in that sort of moment, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, should I be doing this? Like, I don't want to feel awful about myself. I don't want to have to sit back and read these comments. And it was days where I was miserable, and I'm like, why have I done this? Like, why have I put myself out there to be able to then take this back in? And now I'm sitting with these awful comments about myself. And it was sort of at that moment, I think it was like 3 or 4 days of me literally just at home crying, that I was like, this is the problem. This is what happens when someone puts themselves out there, someone else has an opinion about it. I'm going to then go into hiding. I'm not going to show myself anymore. They've won. So I'm like, no, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep pushing on, and I'm going to, you know, block out everything that happens. At the end of the day, these people are ignorant. All I can do is showcase who I am, showcase the knowledge, and put that out there that, you know, everyone has something going on in their lives, whether it be diagnosed with lipedema, whether that be, you know, they've been diagnosed with polycystic, I'm not even going to say it, PCOS, you know, whether they're just battling with their self-image in general. So that's how I like really went down to it, which I was grateful then that after that led into, I got signed with someone, and I was able to, you know, keep going and slowly knack away at it. But yeah, it's just something that for me, I'm so grateful that I was put in that position to begin with, because that not only broke that stigma, but it broke it with myself. And that's when I really realized that no one else is going to love me the way that I do. And if I'm going to talk negatively about myself, of course everyone else is going to. If I talk positively about myself, who cares what anyone thinks? So that's how I sort of got into it, and where I am today, really. Like, I'm so grateful of everything that's happened.
Yeah, and honestly, us as consumers, we're very grateful too, because I must say, whenever I see bodies like my body represented in media, or even the bodies of my friends represented in media, I can't tell you how much my fingers just want to go, yes, look at these beautiful queens, like, you know, and be one of those people that type these messages about feeling like we're represented. So the fact that you persevered through that, that's very, it's very hard to do. It weighs very heavy on you when people have opinions and they're negative.
Yeah.
So coming out the other side, you're doing great work, because I feel like more bodies are being represented in the media now. Like LSKD have a campaign on at the moment with women of different sizes, and we're seeing it in lots of different athletic brands, and I think it's so important.
Yeah, it's so important as well, especially like, you know, with everything, because, you know, it doesn't matter what your size is, you deserve to feel confident and powerful in your clothes. But when it comes to activewear, you know, I remember looking online and I'm like, cool, I don't know what that's going to look like on me. Is the fabric going to stretch okay? Is it going to fit around my legs? My waist is quite small. That's not going to fit. And like, now watching so many activewear companies, just they're fitting the mold properly and they're doing it well, finally. And it's like, cool, you can be at any shape or size. You can still go to the gym. Like, you don't have to be a size 8 to go to the gym. You don't have to be a size 8 to, you know, do certain activities. Like, everyone should feel welcome and confident and powerful no matter what they do. So it's incredible to see so many companies now actually coming on board and doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, here, but also women like you who are confident and courageous enough to get in front of the camera as well, because that's important. So as much as us as consumers can sit here and glorify people like you with the courage, you're the one that's actually standing in front of the camera and,
Yeah.
you know, subject to positive and negative comments.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I wanted to ask you, so you've had your arm surgery. Are you preparing yourself for any future surgeries at the moment? What's going on there?
Yeah, so ideally, if I could have a surgery tomorrow, I would. At this present time, it's not in my budget, but I'm working towards it. So I want to be able to have the rest of my surgeries within the next 5 years. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's funds and it's the money. So I've got it from pretty much my ankles. I've got a little bit in my lower stomach, and I've got some in my back now too. So I want to be able to get as much out as I can. But yeah, it comes down to the funding, and it's so expensive. It's so expensive, especially like, I'm at the age now where I'm like, oh, I should be looking at wanting to buy a house and settling down, and all I'm focused on is surgery and being able to just put as much money away to be able to do it. So yeah, definitely on the
Very
card,
good.
but yeah, it's a rough ride.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it's not obtainable for everyone. So,
No.
yeah, fantastic. And so, how are you managing your lipedema at the moment? What are the little tips and tricks that you're doing in conservative management?
Yeah, so for me, I wear a lot of sports compression. I need to go and get some custom made compression. That's been on the cards for some time. I try and get MLDs whenever I can afford them, because they are quite expensive when they start adding up. But my main focus is diet and exercise. So for me, I have like a really strong passion with nutrition. I'm actually studying health science. So I sort of went down the route of, okay, let's look at foods that trigger me. Let's look at the foods that are inflaming my body, and let's try and, eliminate and create fun sort of recipes that I'm going to enjoy and not restrict myself in. So for me, the biggest thing has just been trying to adjust to foods. So I never, and this is my personal opinion, my body doesn't agree with a keto diet or a low carb diet. And that's where it stemmed. Okay, what actually is it that is in a keto diet that works? And it's like, okay, carbohydrates. That's the trigger. That's the bad part. So that's where I went down to the research of learning the difference between simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates, and realizing that complex carbohydrates are actually doing my body better than what simple carbohydrates were. So I did a heap of research on that, and then I sort of played around with some recipes, played around with low inflammatory foods, and I've just sort of built from there. So I'm really, I still go out and I'll still enjoy meals with friends, because you still have to have that balance. But in all, it's just learning out how to eat for me, and learning how to eat for what my body wants to actually eat. So yeah, Mediterranean diet has been incredible. Mediterranean low inflammatory diet, but also just moving my body every day. So as a young teenage girl, exercise was a punishment, because you've got to exercise because this is how you look like this. So I fell in love with fitness when my sister lived with me a few years ago, because we used to go to the gym together all the time, and just figuring out ways that I could actually enjoy it. So I got into powerlifting because I felt strong and I felt empowered, and realizing really quickly that my body actually really enjoyed that movement, because I feel like, especially with lipedema, and especially after a long and hard day, you're on your feet all day, like, oh, like I've got that pain, I've got that restlessness where I can't sleep. So, figuring out a routine with, moving my body every single day and just enjoying it, enjoying the process. Okay, I am still blessed. I still, I can get up every morning, I can breathe fresh air, I can do everything. So let's figure out a way to enjoy my exercise, make it feel good for my body, and just trying new things all the time. So at the moment, I've got a fixation on swimming. So, and swimming is great for lipedema. So yeah, just mainly focusing on like my diet, and then exercise has been the main focus of, especially with the budget as well. Like with my budget, I need to do the things that I can do. So that's been the main focus.
Yeah, and really those things that you can do every day consistently are the things that make the most impact. So what we put in our bodies is probably the most impactful thing we can do. Maybe when you finish your health science degree, you'll be looking after some of the lipedema community. What were you
That is,
planning on doing with your studies?
yeah, that's actually a big goal of mine. So because we're so overlooked by a lot of health professionals, I wanted to, jump in there and be able to provide that support for people, especially new patients, and well, not patients, I don't want to say patients, but new women that have been newly diagnosed. It's like, where do I go from here? And that's where I kind of want to come in and be like, okay, here's what we can do. There's so many ways that you can nourish your body and look after your body and not feel like your body is a burden. And that's where I really want to use that degree to come in and be like, it's okay. Like, we've got this. So yeah, once I finish it, that's where I'll be going down the path. So, which is very exciting, but scary.
Fantastic. You heard it here first, folks. Watch this space, hey? All right, so we are almost running out of time, Charlotte, but we wanted to ask you our favorite question, which we ask all of our guests as long as we have time. If you could go back and give yourself a pep talk, what would you tell her?
It's a good question. I think I would go back and pretty much tell myself to stop holding back so much. You're not going to look back and go, ooh, I didn't look good in there, or ooh, I didn't like the way that I did this. Just be in the moment, be present, and enjoy what are going to become memories. Just be there for yourself, be there for your family, be there for your friends. Stop worrying about what you look like every 5 minutes, because that's not what matters in life. What matters in life is who is around you and what impact you're going to make. So that's what I would go back and tell myself.
What a great message. And you're living that every day now, like being proud of in your body and being comfortable in your body and being courageous. So well done. Charlotte, it has been such a pleasure to talk to you tonight. If you want to our listeners, if you want to check out Charlotte, she is at Healthy Charlotte on Instagram. Please give her a follow. Shell, do you have anything else?
No, but thank you so much, Charlotte. You are doing amazing work to raise awareness, and we are honored to have had you on tonight. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Both of you ladies are doing incredible things, and the podcast has been amazing. I've listened to every single episode, and it's just, I can't wait to see where this goes. So thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Lipoedema podcast. Lipedema and its symptoms vary from individual to individual. The opinions and advice voiced on this podcast are of a personal nature and used for educational purposes.
Please take away from this podcast what resonates with you, and please see your GP or preferred specialist for diagnosis and healthcare. We are Shelley and Tiana from the Lipoedema podcast. Until our next episode, bye for now.